Well, good evening and welcome to Nashville. I'm Alan Jackson. If a picture is worth 1,000 words, then this is all we need to see about the political times we're in. First, a rare photo from Cairo, Egypt, 30 world leaders demonstrating their support for President Trump's peace plan for the Mideast. Versus this, the Democratic leader in the U.S. Senate. He's trying to defend what's been called the Schumer shutdown, claiming that his leverage gets stronger every day the government shutdown goes on, even while people are not working and not getting paid. So while President Trump was signing a plan to stop a war, the Senate Democratic leader was taking a one-man victory lap for shutting down the U.S. government. Well, our guest tonight is the veteran political editor, Bob Cusack. Welcome back, Bob.
Thanks for having me, Alan.
The gap between Chuck Schumer and President Trump is as wide as the eye can see. The Senate Republican leader, John Thune, had this to say about why it's happening.
When Chuck Schumer is saying this is getting better for us every day, that's not somebody who wants to see this get resolved. And they are pandering to the left-wing special interest groups out there who have demanded this and demanded this showdown with the President of the United States.
Bob, it's hard to imagine why anyone would think a shutdown is a winning strategy. Do you agree?
Yeah, Alan, I mean, I've covered a lot of shutdowns, but the way Schumer is handling this one is a bit head-scratching because Democrats, as Republicans have noted, have supported this type of bill, a so-called clean bill, many times, 13 times before, but Democrats want their health care provisions in there. And of course, Republicans want their certain things that they want in a bill, but they're saying, no, let's fund the government. And this is interesting, Alan. I mean, the Democrats are the party of government, and the government is going to be shut down, I think, for quite some time. I think it could go to Halloween or maybe Thanksgiving. This could be the longest one ever, as Speaker Johnson has said. I agree with him.
Well, Cairo's a long way from Washington, but do you think the leadership that the president has shown internationally will eventually have an effect on at least some of the Democrats who are holding up the funding bill?
Possibly. I mean, Democrats thought that they were going to be able to pressure Trump into folding. And in prior shutdowns, some of that strategy has worked. It's not going to work here. Trump is flying high after his peace deal in the Middle East. And certainly some Democrats, including Senator Fetterman from Pennsylvania, have sided with Republicans on this. They don't agree with their leadership.
You know, even without the additional health care spending, the latest budget still adds $2 trillion to a national debt that's closing on $38 trillion. The DOJ committee continues to make cuts, and the president says there'll be more cuts. But is there anything on the table that will not just slow the spending, but help us genuinely shrink the debt?
I don't think, don't hold your breath, Alan. I mean, when you think about compromises between the two parties over the last couple decades, 25 years, what happens? One side gets what it wants and the other side get what it wants. And what happens is the debt goes up. As you mentioned, we're going to soon be headed for 40 trillion. So unless Congress gets serious and deals with entitlement programs like Medicare and Medicaid and Social Security, Medicare and Social Security headed for bankruptcy, we're going to have a big debt problem, but it's not going to be tackled anytime soon.
You know, there was a time, and it's been a season, when Congress actually worked together to solve problems. Do you have any hope that we're going to return to that kind of a functional approach to congressional activity?
I don't think so. It's just basically a game of shirts and skins right now, and I don't think the parties are in a situation where they can actually work together because it's become so polarizing. And you're right, 10, 15 years ago, it was a different situation.
You know, as usual, it's really hard to sort the truth from the spin on the shutdown. But isn't the heart of it the fact that the Democrats are trying to extend government health care at the higher limits that were put in place for the COVID crisis and for some additional health care for people who are here illegally?
Well, without a doubt, it's a complicated issue, and definitely subsidies went up during COVID. Democrats say, hey, no, we're not paying for money for illegal immigrants, but in their proposal, their counter-proposal to Republicans, they didn't explicitly say that. And that's what Republicans have said, well, if you weren't going to put the money in there for that reason, then why didn't you say explicitly? And it also, when you're dealing with emergency treatment, experts have said, yes, there would be some money for illegal immigrants in there for health care.
Well, let's stay on the topic of people who are here illegally. The White House says that there have been a record number of arrests. It's up 250%, and that crime is down about 20%. Having cleaned up Washington and now working on Memphis, Los Angeles, and Chicago, the president has raised the idea of moving in on San Francisco next. You would think that keeping people safe would be a winning agenda in any political race, but Schumer and others continue to push back. Do you see any political benefit for the Democrats as they fight the plans for a safe America?
Not in the big picture, I don't. And it's interesting, Chuck Schumer has this fictional couple from Long Island that he's written about in his book. And he acknowledged after the 2024 election that that fictional couple, that's kind of an independent-minded couple, voted for Trump. Why? Because of crime. This is what Schumer said. So this is a winning issue for Republicans, and I think Democrats who are going to go after Trump on this, I think it's a losing issue for them, and that's why the White House has been so aggressive on it.
You know, it's confusing to me. I'm certainly an outsider when it comes to D.C., but with the last election results and the move towards the center, it seems the Democrats have moved even further left. You know, are they just ignoring the trend from the public? What is driving that shift?
Alan, I've been baffled. You know, we've seen both parties after elections when they lose, and both parties have lost big time, wave elections over the last few decades. What they do is they analyze why they lost. I haven't seen a lot of introspection from Democrats of why they lost the 2024 election. I keep hearing from Kamala Harris and other Democrats like Nancy Pelosi saying, well, we picked up one seat in the House, but they didn't win the House and they didn't win the presidency. And they haven't come up with a winning strategy yet. They're still flailing. And it's been a while since Trump won a second term.
It has. Bob, there's a lot more to discuss. Can you stay for another segment?
Absolutely.
All right. Well, if you want to jump in on this conversation with Bob Cusack, you can log on to ajnow.com. Send me an email. We can use your ideas for our future shows. I'll be right back. We're back now with the veteran political editor, Bob Cusack. I'd like to ask about a couple of off-year races, beginning with the one in your state of Virginia. The Democrats have been set back with the public release of some very damaging text from their candidate that said he wanted to put 2 bullets in the head of his opponent. I know the texts were from 3 years ago, but he hasn't dropped out of the race. What does the race look like now with just a few weeks to go?
It's a close race. It's closer than I expected. And as you mentioned, the Jay Jones controversy is really hurting Abigail Spanberger, who is a Democrat in the race. She is winning right now. And Virginia has gotten more blue over the years. Now, remember, like Virginia and New Jersey, I know we'll talk about New Jersey in a little bit. Democrats have to win both of these. These are blue states for the most part. New Jersey's gotten a little more red, but it's still blue. And Democrats have to sweep these races. But at the same time, in Virginia, you got to watch this race because Spanberger has not really distanced herself, I think, effectively from the Jay Jones controversy, and he's running for office. He's in a tight race, and he's dragging her down right now. There's no doubt about it.
Well, it seems like with some of the very public expressions of violence we've seen, that kind of rhetoric would just not be tolerated, but they seem to be managing to sweep that under the rug for the most part.
Yeah, that's another issue where I just don't understand why Democrats, and some do, but why can't all of them say violence is not right, and violence is something that we condemn all the time. And what Jay Jones was texting was violence and the threat of violence, and that has really dominated politics, and how I think people have soured on politics in recent years because it's become more violent, and that's extremely unfortunate, has led to a lot of tragedies, including the assassination of Charlie Kirk.
Well, the New York mayor's race has tightened since we last spoke. The current mayor dropped out, and now Andrew Cuomo has pulled closer to his socialist communist opponent. Zohran Mamdani has found himself getting pressed on his negative comments about the Mideast peace plan. He said it offers only a glimmer of hope, but that we've watched our tax dollars fund genocide. Even CNN has tried to press him on giving President Trump some credit. Listen to their comment.
So at what point would you decide that he does deserve credit for it?
If the genocide ends, then I think that's something worthy to be praised. And if the hostages are returned, those things together have to be done in tandem.
You know, he's getting tougher questions, but there are still two others in the race, Cuomo and Curtis Sliwa. So I guess unless one of them drops out, the anti-socialist vote will be split. Do you think New York City will eventually have a socialist in charge?
Probably, Alan. Mamdani is he's leading in the race. As you mentioned, the other two candidates, Cuomo and Sliwa, are dividing the anti-socialist vote. This is really a win-win for Republicans. If Mamdani somehow loses his lead, well, Republicans can say, well, Democrats at least came to their senses. If Mamdani wins, that's going to be the story of the 2025 election, is that they're going to say he's the face of the Democratic Party now, and he's a socialist. And that, I mean, there are a number of prominent politicians that, as we speak, Chuck Schumer is still not endorsed him. Why? Because he wants to distance himself from the socialists. So this is really dividing the Democratic Party, and Republicans are enjoying that division.
It baffles me. What's the mindset of New Yorkers, I mean, giving serious consideration to electing someone that has no life experience to lead the largest city in America? That's confusing to me.
It is. I mean, Cuomo has some baggage. There's no doubt about it. Cuomo made a big mistake, Alan. He just thought he was going to glide to the victory, and he was not out there shaking hands. He's doing that now as an independent, but he should have been doing that in the Democratic Party. He just thought he was going to win. And New York City, especially parts, certain boroughs of New York City, are very, very liberal, and obviously some of them are socialists, and they want to see this guy win. So this is a base election. Only usually people who vote in these type of elections are hardcore, and that's usually the extreme voters. And in New York, that's extreme left. So Mamdani, that's why he's winning in the polls right now.
Well, the New Jersey governor's race is getting closer. The blue state voters are apparently having second thoughts about the Democratic candidate, Mikey Sherrill, after a number of questionable issues about her time at the Naval Academy have surfaced, issues that she hadn't cleared up publicly. Is the state getting purple enough where the Republicans could take New Jersey?
Well, one of the most surprising results of the 2024 presidential election was that Trump only lost by a handful of votes in New Jersey. He's always eyed a win in New York. That was not going to happen. And he's talked about winning Jersey. He almost won New Jersey. So it's getting certainly more purple. And as you mentioned, there are some controversies with Sherrill. Taxes is a big issue in New Jersey as they've gone up over the years. She's also made a lot of money as a member of Congress, had to pay a fine, relatively small fine, for a law that prevents insider trading. And she's dodged some questions about how much money she's made as a member of Congress over the last several years, and that has hurt her. And that's why I think this is, if you're looking for an upset, New Jersey is more likely the Republican wins than in Virginia. But again, if Democrats don't win both of these races, it is a devastating night for Democrats.
Well, if we will look down the road a bit, the midterms are just about a year away. And while the president is on a roll right now, I wonder if the voters will remember that next November when they're only voting for House and Senate members and not the president. What do you think?
Yeah, it's a problem that the White House and the president have to deal with. He lost the House in 2018 in his first term. And it does have an effect, Alan, when you don't have Trump on the ballot. When you have Trump on the ballot, he usually wins. So this is going to be a challenge. It's going to come down a lot to what the courts say and these redistricting fights that both parties are engaged right now. I think the Senate is likely to stay in Republican hands. I would bet on that. The House is a toss-up. That could go either way. And again, if Democrats don't win the House based upon historical trends, it's a rough night for them. They should pick up, if you look at the party not in power of the White House, they should pick up 20, maybe 24 seats. All they need is a handful of seats. So if they don't get it, there could be some changes in Democratic leadership.
I think we all remember the line, it's about the economy, stupid. Do you think there'll be enough economic momentum to carry the Republicans to hold?
I love that question. And the White House has said there are a lot of people, and you look at polls, they're not satisfied. Inflation is still there. But the White House says 2026 is going to be a banner year for the economy. So They want to make sure that they're doing the things, whether it's deregulation or certainly lowering interest rates, which President Trump has certainly pressured Jay Powell at the Federal Reserve to lower interest rates. They're saying the economy's going to get better, and I think that's going to be the one to watch, where we're going to be. Where is the economy in 1 year from now? Remember, Trump just got started, so that's what the White House says. We just got started. Give us a little more time.
Well, Bob Cusack, thank you for your time again today. We all benefit from your inside Washington view.
Thanks, Alan. Appreciate it.
And in a moment, the hope that exists well beyond the Beltway. I'll be right back. While Democrats insist on spending more than $1 trillion of your money to expand health care coverage, including money for people who are here illegally, there was a real concern that our military community might not get paid. Well, I'm grateful that the Trump administration intervened and reshuffled some Pentagon funds in order to provide a temporary reprieve for active duty troops. They didn't have to miss their first paychecks as a result. Well, unfortunately, we as Christ followers, we have some complicity with this out-of-control spending that has taken place over recent years and decades. We didn't pay enough attention to all the foolish things that our taxpayer money was being allocated toward. Recently, House Speaker Mike Johnson called out some of these line items, listing a few demands the Democrats are insisting on in order to end the government shutdown. These include $3.9 million of your hard-earned tax dollars for LGBTQ plus democracy grants in the Western Balkans, $2 million on organizing for feminist democratic principles in Africa, $24.6 million to climate resilience in Honduras. I'm grateful that Speaker Johnson has exposed these expenditures, but I caution you not to look to the politicians to be the agents of change. Let's attach value to what we represent in the culture. Be informed, be engaged, speak up, use your voice, pray. We are God's ambassadors in the world, so let's be bright lights in the darkness and have the courage to stand up for biblical values. If we'll do that, I assure you there will be more reasons for hope than despair. We'll be back in just a moment with your emails. Just a quick reminder, if you miss a live broadcast, you can always go to ajnow.com. There's a full archive of our programs there. You can watch them at your leisure. It makes them easy to share with a friend. Choose your favorite and share with somebody else. The more, the merrier. Thank you for your emails. They're always a highlight. Jonathan wrote, "Thank you for standing firm on the word and traditional values in America. I love to watch." Well, Jonathan, I appreciate it. Our biblical worldview, our Judeo-Christian values have brought strength to our nation, and it's going to take courage to live them out in this current climate, but it is worthwhile. A viewer on YouTube noted, "The current shutdown is nothing more than partisan gamesmanship and the blame game. The debauchocrats want to continue funding things that should not be funded. The Republicans are going to use this shutdown to reduce the size of government. The Republicans could have prevented this by changing the vote threshold to a simple majority like they did during the Trump nominee's confirmation vote to avoid obstruction by the debauchocrats. Change the vote threshold now." I'm not sure about the vote threshold, but changing the words keeps me focused. I just now learned to spell Republican and Democrat, and you've given me a whole new set of vocabulary words. But thank you. Aubrey from Texas wrote, "Why did it appear the major TV news channels were showing the release of Palestinian prisoners instead of the hostages from Hamas?" Well, I think there's probably several components to that. There's a reluctance to allow President Trump to take a victory lap. They would rather try to remind us that there was a genocide they've been promoting and not celebrate the release of people who have been brutally held for more than 2 years in tunnels beneath Gaza. It's been fashionable and chic for a bit to be anti-Semitic, even in mainstream formats. It's unfortunate, but I think in spite of all of that, we can all be celebrating the release of those hostages, their return to their families, the joyful sights of those emotional reunions. God is moving in the earth, and we've had front row seats to be witnesses to that this week. It should bring all of us a note of hope. God's watching over us, and He'll bring victories in the face of horrible expressions of evil. Thank you for spending a few minutes with us, and I pray you have a good evening.